Welcome to the final unit. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to this video. In this unit, you'll learn how to combine what you learned in Unit 4, Part 1 and add teaching opportunities during play. So let's review Unit 4, Part 1. You already do a great job creating opportunities for your child to communicate. We want you to continue to do this, but now we want to add a few things. When playing together, look for a time when your child is engaged and likely motivated to share wants, interests, and feelings with you. In this situation, you can do a variety of things. For example, you can discreetly place one of your child's toys on a shelf or do something silly and wait for a response. This lets your child know now's a great time to communicate. So what's new? Sometimes you know that your child knows words, phrases, or sentences, but do not always use them independently or on their own without help. So, this unit is focused on directly teaching your child during play. You can show your child when to communicate and, if needed, demonstrate what they could say during play. So first you want to use the strategies you learned about in Unit 4, Part 1. One of those was a silly situation, something unexpected in play, or providing options. It's important to know what you want your child to say. This should be based on the goals we discussed and developed together. For example, we may have discussed the importance of teaching your child to describe their actions with an object. In this scenario, then, we are emphasizing roll and ball, or build and blocks. Like we discussed last time, when playing together, look for a time when your child is engaged and likely motivated to share wants, interests, and feelings. Think of times when your child has been motivated to communicate in the past. It may have been during play or when switching between activities like transitioning from stacking blocks to coloring with crayons. This slide is a reminder from a previous unit. First, make sure your child is playing or deciding about what to play next. As you learned earlier, you should join in and do what they are doing, or support them in deciding what to do next. Then, look for a time when your child will be motivated to communicate and use a communication strategy. Then, you will wait up to 5 seconds for your child to respond. As you recall, waiting allows your child time to notice and process the moment and then respond. So what does teaching look like? During that waiting time, a few things might happen. Your child communicates using a goal-related communication. That's awesome. Using other forms of communication, also great. Or by waiting, pausing what they're doing, looking at you with no other actions, and we'll consider that motivation to communicate too. Or your child's not interested. If your child immediately responds with goal-related communication, then respond positively, repeat what your child said or add to what they said, and continue the activity, or if your child was asking for attention or a toy, provide that. If your child did not use goal-related communication within 5 seconds, you're going to demonstrate an example of what your child could say in this situation. When you're deciding what your child could say in this moment, decide whether or not you will say, roll the ball, or simply, roll the ball. This decision is based on whether or not your child will attempt to repeat the word say when repeating you. If so, consider removing the word say. You may be tempted to persist in getting your child to repeat you, but that can make teaching turn from fun to work. We understand the frustration, but this method will help in the long run when working on teaching your child to use words during play. So if your child repeats you, that's great. Respond positively, repeat what your child said or add to what they said, and continue the activity, or if your child was asking for attention, provide that. If they don't repeat you but are still interested, respond the same way as if they did repeat you. Your child's language doesn't have to be perfect. So what does that mean? That means for now, you're focused on your child using language in play. A speech-language pathologist can help perfect those sounds. If your child is struggling to repeat what you said, self-reflect on this question. Did what you ask of your child match the goal-related communication plan? Sometimes we can ask too much too quickly. If you followed the plan and your child still struggled, when you respond, do not add more words. Instead, repeat and stress the sounds in each word. For example, if your child said row ba instead of roll the ball, stress those key sounds in roll and ball. If your child repeated you and you understand what they can say, you can add additional words to your verbal response. So how to respond? If your child's not interested, that's okay. Join in the play and try again later. If your child becomes upset at any point, you can stop and try again later. Like we discussed in Unit 4, Part 1, sometimes we can try our best and it doesn't work out in that moment. Don't let this defeat you. No one's interested in all their favorite activities all the time, and sometimes we don't feel like talking. There's no such thing as perfection, but we will continue to strive for progress. Let's talk through an example. You create an opportunity to communicate by placing your child's favorite stuffed animal on a shelf. The toy's in the child's view but out of reach. You make sure they notice and you wait for any type of communication. Your child reaches and that lets you know that they're interested, but you wait up to 5 seconds for them to use goal-related communication. If they don't, that's okay. In this example, demonstrate what your child could say. So, for example, if your child's goal-related communication is one-word labels or action words, you might say something like, bunny, and then you wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in this example, your child repeats you and you understand what they're saying. So you then add to what your child said, you want the bunny. Given that this example focused on the child commenting about or asking for the bunny and the child reached for it, you should also give the child the toy to honor their request for this object. You can have the best plan and sometimes it won't work out. For example, you place a baby doll on a shelf, you make sure your child notices, and you wait for communication. And then your child turns and walks away. Move on and try something else or try again later. We're going to have some videos on the next few slides that show a parent imitating, engaging in the same similar actions as a child, and using this time delay. Want more bubbles? Say, want bubbles.
Want bubbles.
You want the bubbles. Look. Yeah, monkey's climbing on me. Monkey climb on Micah? No. This concludes our last unit. Thanks for diving into our content and following along.